It is a glorious sunny morning here in Chai, and the circuit is live, ready for qualifying for the Formula LGB 1300s here for the second day of activity at the Madras Motor Racing track. We're just outside Sriperumbudur, and this circuit, initially a club circuit, but now very much an international licensed track, plays host this weekend to the final round of the MRF Challenge, but also has a busy support program of national races with the MRF Formula 1600s, with the mixture of saloon cars from the Indian Junior Touring Car Championship, the Esteem Cup as well, and also single-seater action coming up from the Suzuki Swift-engined Formula LGB 1300s. They had two free practice sessions yesterday, the second of which was interrupted with a great number of stoppages and incidents and battered cars, but qualifying, fingers crossed, will not be quite as destructive, but it should be lively nonetheless. In the pit lane is Louise Beckett, David Addison trackside, and a busy field of cars then streaming out onto the circuit. Two classes within the one race for these, because you've got the overall championship and then there's a secondary rookie contest as well. All of these cars built by the LG Balakrishnan brothers. The cars are 90 to 100 brake horsepower, and as they work their way out of turn 7 across to turn 8, this is how the circuit looks, with the pit straight being that on the far right as you look at it, and then turn 1 short straight up to turn 2, the two right-handers left at turn 3, and then the cars wriggle their way out onto the full circuit. Effectively now there are two tracks here. There's an east and a west circuit, so with 320 days use last year, the track never resting, and you can have both configurations in operation on the same day. Then wriggle your way back behind the paddock. The car's coming down towards turn 10 at the moment, and then there's a right at 11 over the brow, and then right at turn 12 up towards the timing line they will come, and then start a flying lap. Now yesterday the driver to beat during the course of the qualifying, the pre-practice sessions I should say, was Anjan Patonio, and he had a gearbox problem in fact, and although he was the quickest, he didn't go back out again after the first of the two red flags that we had in the second session. Even so, the time could not be touched, so he's going to be hard to beat today. One driver who was in strife yesterday with quite a bit of damage was Arya Singh, who is doing both this and the more powerful Formula 1600s within the MRF Challenge. So he's one of a number of drivers on double duty this weekend. Chetan Korada, number 7, turning his way through. He is one of the drivers in the national championship as far as these cars are concerned, and will be a man to watch, I'm sure, as he works his way now up through turns 4 and 5. The road opens up around this long looping right, which effectively is two corners really, turns 6 and 7 together, and Chetan Korada is another on double duty because he too is doing the 1600s. Car number 6 you're looking at is Manas Madan. In the field, come the end of this lap, we'll start to put in the first proper flying lap time. Number 7, Chetan Korada then, like Arya Singh, gaining lots of track knowledge. Behind him, number 25, and now ahead of him on track, Sri Venkatratija, who gets it all wrong, all sideways. He's heading for the grass, and round he goes. So 25, Sri Venkatratija digs himself off the grass and back onto the circuit. There is one that has not yet gone out, Abdul Malik, still in the pit lane, but we're hoping he's going to come out soon, as with bodywork grinding along the ground, look, ripped off in his incident. Number 25, Sri Venkatratija, soldiers on. But what he's also done is not only damaged the car, but he's brought an awful lot of dirt and the grass onto the circuit with him, which is going to make it slippery for everybody else. We had an awful lot of this yesterday, with people making errors, bringing muck onto the road, and therefore that was catching out others. They went off, and it just became this downward spiral. Here's the replay of Tija carrying too much speed, coming through turn 8, gets it all wrong, tries to hang on to it, but it goes one way, it goes the other, and then it goes around, and the damage done to the bodywork as he grinds the car along the runoff area on the outside of the road. He does rejoin and has not, as far as I'm aware, pitted. Now fastest is Bhushan Tarija, who was quick yesterday in the free practice sessions. He's done a 1:53.866 ahead of number 1, Prashanth K, and there is 55 heading into shot as well, Vinesh Chand. 46 going through, Clinton Braganza. He was another one that stopped with a mechanical problem yesterday. We had a rather curious situation where if people spun and stalled, there was just no chance of the cars restarting. Another victim of that yesterday was the cause of a red flag, and so fingers crossed they can keep out of trouble today, because it was rather frustrating with all the stoppages that we had in yesterday's session. Anjan Patodia, though, carrying on where he left off yesterday, 152.643 being the time that he has done thus far. Yeah, the spinner yesterday that caused a stoppage, as you see a recovering car at turns 4 and 5, was Rupesh Siva Kumar, who therefore had to end free practice quite early. And 37, who was also showing decent pace yesterday, Sheikh Najib Ahmed, turned through, 39 on track behind also, is Ritwik Thomas, who was lucky to avoid the spinning Kumar yesterday, missed him by inches, and Kamala Kanan, who had a big spin at the end of free practice 2 yesterday, in the walls early today, I'm afraid, off the road. Rattles back onto the circuit, but Anjan Patodia it is then, still the fastest. Now this is a short, sharp session, it's only 15 minutes long, as there you can see one driver in the pit lane. Drivers count the second best lap time in this qualifying session as well. Not everybody yet having achieved 2 flying laps, but we're getting there. Clinton Braganza is not going to achieve a great deal. He's the next one off the road. He's not stuck though, thankfully. He will be able to rejoin. And where's he gone off? Looking at that, I think it's behind the paddock, isn't it? Sort of down at turn 10. Yes, because that's 11 he's going through now. And this is how he did it. Too much speed carried down that long back straight. Runs out of road, onto the dirt, doesn't hit anything. The car eventually comes to a halt. He hooks a gear and sets off once again. So this is the man who is quickest, Anjan Patodia. He works his way out of turn 12 over the timing line. Patodia then goes through, and that's even quicker. That's a 152.407. His second best lap is a 152.643, so he's got the fastest and the second fastest lap quicker than anybody out of this session thus far. And Patodia also, as he locks up and does his front right tyre a power of no good, I was about to say has the track to himself here, but a little error being made there on the run up towards the second corner. But he's managed to keep away from all of the traffic, as Arya Singh has pitted in number 12. That car repaired after its big accident yesterday, where 2 corners were ripped off it. Meantime, Patodia still looks absolutely untouchable in this as he works his way through turn 4, then turn 5. Road opening up now through this long loop through turn 6. The next apex is turn 7, and then he threads his way up towards this right at turn 8. The next left will be turn 9. And there's a car off just by the side of the road, so as Patodia turns his way back into view, somebody, as I say, has had a drama just out of view. Out of turn 9, this long run down the straight towards the kink, and then into turn 10 at the bottom of the straight. So Aryan Showry, number 11 you were looking at, there is Anjan Patodia, still the fastest, 152.407 the time to beat. He comes now out of turn 12, he's got some traffic ahead of him. But does he go quicker? Yes, he does, a 152.137. He might now start to struggle a little bit because he's got to wriggle his way through the slower cars ahead on this next lap though. Making the run now up towards turn 2, Clinton Braganza, whose distinctive yellow car draws attention to itself, also drawing attention to itself, I'm afraid, for the wrong reason, is Vishnu Rajkumar, who's gone off the road. And that was just ahead of that gaggle of cars that we were talking about, so that was on the run out of turn 2 towards turn 3, I think, that he got it wrong, so how will that affect Patodia? Prashanth K up to second fastest in number 1, there he is. So Prashanth K with the yellow wheels, number 1. Going rapidly now, second fastest he has become, but he too has got a bit of traffic up the road. And then third fastest now, Bhushan Tarija. The gap between Patodia and Prashanth for the front of the grid is a second, just over a second. And there are 5 minutes to go as into the pit lane comes Prashanth K. Making his way down the pit road, down to the team. 25 now, 5th fastest, Sri Venkatateja. That was the car that spun right at the start of the session, remember, despite that little bit of loose bodywork on the right-hand side, and it's still flapping away. He's not pitted. Sheikh Najib Ahmed has got a problem and recovering from it, I think. Car picking up speed. And also in strive number 18, you can see now Chetan Nagawara. So that's another slow car trying to recover. As he works his way down towards turn 10. So you've got the rather slow 37 up the road, which is Sheikh Najib Ahmed. They're recovering after an earlier spin, Vishnu Rajkumar. And number 10, 3rd fastest, Bhushan Tarija. Through turn 1, he is currently 1.492 seconds away from the top time. 21 is ahead of him on the road there, which is Bala Prasad, who was the other driver involved with Arya Singh in the accident yesterday. That was the first red flag of the session. Out of turn 3 they come. Short straight. And you've got the little kink as down the pit road comes Anjan Patodia. And with just under 4 minutes to go, he might call that a session. Whether he'll go back out remains to be seen. Wide goes Tarija, but does he get away with that? Yes, he does. Less fortunate though, number 11 spinning, so Ayun Showry just ahead of Clinton Braganza getting it all wrong. Round he goes, but again, thankfully, without any damage to the car. Whereas, parked by the side of the road, still trying to clamber out. I wonder if that's Rupesh Sivan Kumar again after his incident yesterday. It's still hard to identify with the car being stranded in the background, but it's not causing the session to be interrupted, far from it, as we run into the last 3 minutes now. So number 10, Bhushan Tarija, has fallen back down to 4th fastest. Arya Singh up to 2nd on a 1:53.186 last time. So this lap for Tarija is an important one to try and get himself a little bit higher up on the grid if he can. He comes now over the brow coming out of turn 11. One more corner to go, and then up towards the timing line. There is a mechanical warning flag, incidentally, being prepared, the meatball flag for 52, as we await the arrival of the car. Sorry, for 25, I should say. As over the timing line goes Bhushan Tarija, doesn't improve on that lap. 25 is Sri Venkatateja. Now that's for the flapping bodywork on the right-hand side that hadn't been identified. The next one in the wars, number 4, Jason Huggins. There is Arya Singh then, up to 2nd fastest, 1 second away from the top time. So Arya Singh, one of a number of drivers doing more than one category this weekend. Not quite as competitive in the 1600s as he is in these. Can he do anything about narrowing the gap to Patodia? Not on that lap, but he's got one more shot here because there is now less than a lap time left in the session, but he'll get one last lap out of it. So out of turn 1 he goes, speed building, and then hard on the brakes, turn right through turn 2. More and more drivers now bailing for the pit road. Anjan Patodia then making it look as though it's going to be pole position for him. Best time at the end of the session falling to Anjan Patodia, but Arya Singh has got one last go at this. He works his way now along the straight that links the club circuit to the international circuit. Turns his way through turns 4 and 5. The fast back part of the circuit. And turn 6 and 7, speed building all the time. And working his way down towards turn 8 now. Traffic ahead as well, which he might have to worry about on this last lap. Just had an improvement from Ritwik Thomas to go 7th. So from 8 to 9 comes Arya Singh, traffic up the road. Now he's got the fast run down the straight, but getting in the way rather there, number 14, so not the most cooperative of laps from Venkatesh Shreyas, getting in the way rather of Arya Singh, who still hasn't found a way through. He tries the outside, tries everywhere, but if effective back marker, the slower car, not really assisting in this. Out of turn 11, and Arya Singh bails, goes for the pit lane. The checkered flag is out, the session's at an end, so Arya Singh, realising that he couldn't go any quicker because of the slower car ahead, goes for the pit lane, and off has spun Chetan Nagawara, quite spectacularly at turn 1, as you can see. Nagawara rotates, 360-degree lose, but does get it back onto the road eventually. But that squanders the chance of an improvement on the last lap. So the flag is out. The drivers worked their way out of turn 12. The one taking the flag most recently, Manas Madan. Over the line goes Prashant K, number 1, who ends up third fastest. In the background, there's number 3, Kapila Kanan. So, take the best time, get a grid for the first race that these cars will do. And they have the first race of the weekend, in fact, coming up at 11:45. So it's a good job nobody had too much damage, because it'll be a real drama trying to repair it in time. So we have a morning of qualifying with the 2-litre cars for the MRF Challenge next, then the saloons, then the 1600s, and then we're straight into racing. It's a busy morning, it's a busy day here, and grinding to a halt is 37, Sheikh Najib Ahmed, and not for the first time that car has slowed right down. Remember, we saw it during the course of the session, it happened again, but this time it's come to a grinding halt. So it has stopped out on track. That's going to need a bit of retrieval come the end of the session, and a big lock-up as well from Anjan Patodia. He gets away with that. Patodia has already taken the flag, so this is his in lap, and he's trying as hard as ever on this. It's not going to do him any good because he can't improve. He's already been past the timing line once, but Anjan Patodia is rather proving the point that he's going to be tough to beat in the 2 Formula LGB 1300 races. And he was the one that popped up early to the top of the times in the qualifying period that we've had this morning. So Patodia will work his way back to the pit lane. And there is the car that's got to be retrieved. So for Sheikh Najib Ahmed, he will need to be brought back to the pit lane on the back of a recovery vehicle. But Anjan Patodia takes pole, Arya Singh second, Prashant K third fastest, fourth quickest Bhushan Parija, fifth Chetan Korada, and Ritvik Thomas rounding out the top 6 at the end of this short, sharp qualifying period. This category aimed at being a feeder formula, so a low-cost entry-level single-seater class. Spend some time in this, and then you can graduate to the MRF Formula 1600s. Patodia getting a bit concerned about being held up, but you get the feeling he never saw the checkered flag. He doesn't need to do this lap. He won't get time for it. He's already been past the timing beam and taken the checkered flag. So whatever Anjan Patodia is trying to get out of this, it won't count because the session for him is already over. He goes through, but he'd already taken the flag. So the pole man is going to be even later down the pit lane because he's done this extra lap. These cars generate between 90 and 100 brake horsepower, Suzuki Swift engine cars. There is an alternative category with Hyundai engines, but it's the Suzuki Swift power unit in all of these cars, with the novice championship as well as the national championship for the, not senior drivers as such, but more experienced drivers that have done a little bit more racing. Right, Sheikh Najib gets going again. So he will make his way round slowly to the pit lane. And Anjan Patodia will eventually get there. Down the pit road comes Jason Huggins, number 4. Drivers now stop at the end of the pit lane, ready to go into scrutineering if required. And then for the Parc Ferme area. Bala Prasath there, number 21. Car repaired after yesterday's incident. Gets through qualifying unscathed. Ends 18th though, so not the best of performances, but at least keeps him in the mix for a fight in the first race that we will have. But Anjan Patodia quickest in the end by just over a second from Arya Singh, who, as I've been making the point, is doing both this and the MRF Formula 1600 races this weekend, so he's going to be busy. and Arya Singh second quickest in Formula 1300s. He is down in the pit lane, ready to talk to Louise Beckett.
Well, Arya Singh pushing hard in that at the end of that qualifying session, but just not enough to get that pole.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was thinking of going first in qualifying, going out on the track first, but apparently those guys beat us to that, and then I just couldn't get a clean lap. You know, there was too much traffic, and apparently some people weren't just letting me go, even though they were 2 seconds slower than me. But still, I mean, I got one lap. It was a fast one, still 1 second off. But, you know, everything is different in a race. In race, lap times don't really matter that much. It's the consistency, and I'm pretty sure, you know, I can do something out of the race.
That's fighting talk.
Yeah, that is. I mean, if you want to win the race, you need to fight. Even if you're slower, you need to just push the limits.
Good for you, thank you.
So what can Arya Singh do from second on the grid? Fighting talk indeed, as Louise was saying. Well, let's just confirm the way the top 5 will look provisionally on the grid. Anjan Patodia, who after his extra lap has finally arrived in the pit lane. Arya Singh just a second behind, and then Prashant K third. Fourth quickest come the end of the session, Bhushan Parija, and Chetan Karada, like Arya Singh, another double duty driver this weekend. He's fifth fastest at the end of qualifying for the Formula LGB 1300 single-seaters. So the cars making their way down the pit lane, and we might be able to grab a word with Anjan Patodia. First, though, let's have a look at some of the highlights of qualifying, which began in spectacular fashion for 1 and 2. Chetan Karada heading the pack, but it wasn't long before Sri Venkatapija tried to find a way past him and just ran out of road, working his way up around the back part of the circuit. Big spin, but he did some damage to the right-hand side of the car. Clinton Braganza was another one in stripe, but he managed to dig himself off the grass and rejoin the session as well. Others pushed on as they came out of turn 12. Prashant K, number 1, the blue car, being up the front early on. Less fortunate, another rotator, Aryan Showry, he got it all wrong going into turn 2. 13th quickest come the end of the session he was. Arya Singh chipped and chipped and chipped away, only got one clear lap in. It was enough to put him second fastest. And then right at the very end, there was a big, big lose for Chetan Nagawara. He ended the session 11th fastest after a big lose. And at the checkered flag, it was Anjan Patodia, the fastest driver in qualifying for the Formula LGB 1300s. So the drivers now have only a brief opportunity to think about qualifying and have a look at any data they might need and make any adjustments, because the first race for the cars of the weekend is at 11:45 and we are now at 9:53 local time here in Chennai. We're unparalleled the pit straight to a very busy road. Every road is busy in India, I know, but it's a particularly busy one. And all the drivers, the visiting internationals, have experienced the vagaries of Indian traffic, which is so spectacular on their way into the circuit. Dan Tickton there, getting himself ready for the MRF Formula 2000 Challenge qualifying. These are the most powerful single-seaters that we have here this weekend. The Red Bull Junior team driver for 2017. There's another of the Red Bull Junior team drivers, Neil Verhagen. 16 today, happy birthday. About to get on board. But these cars, very different from what we've just seen, much, much quicker. And of course they have aerodynamic aids, whereas the key point about the Formula LGB single-seaters, a bit like Formula V cars in their shape, is that they don't have wings, therefore can slipstream rather more readily. So getting themselves ready for the next qualifying session, including Ralph Aaron there, the Estonian driver. So the Formula LGB 1300s conclude qualifying. Anjan Patodia is the fastest, and we'll be back in a few minutes with qualifying for the MRF Challenge 2-litre cars. Now let's just see whether let's just quickly, before we move away from Formula 1300s, hear from the pole man. Anjan Patodia is ready with Louise Beckett.
Well, he did it in the practice sessions and in qualifying. You've got that pole. It's a great performance from you so far this weekend for the first time here.
Thank you so much. It feels good to be on pole. For the first time I'm on pole in a car.
You've obviously got this one nailed. So what is it with this one? What's the secret for you to get such good laps?
Just keep pushing.
Iris Singh was trying so hard towards the end of that session. Is that why you went out right at the end?
No, actually I just went out to check a few setup changes that we made. So we were trying real hard to push more, but let's see what happens in the race, because race and qualifying is quite different.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
So good to hear from our pole man. And Anjan Patodia will start pole position for the first Formula LGB 1300 race. 2 litre cars to come in a few minutes. The final weekend of the MRF Challenge, qualifying an all-important session with 2 points for pole, is underway for the Formula 2000 cars in the title-deciding weekend for the MRF Challenge. We come here with Joey Mawson, having won last year's ADAC F4 Championship as the championship leader. Harry Newey and Mick Schumacher still in with a chance of taking the crown away from him. 4 races to come over the course of the weekend. This session gives you pole position, potentially, for race 1. It also sorts out your time for the grid for race 3. Your second best time is your grid position for race 3 of the 4. And Joey Mawson, coming through shot in the turquoise car, is not just heading them on track, but he's also the championship leader. It is a great circuit that we have here in Chennai, with the length being just 3.717 kilometres, 12 corners in total, and the drivers have already had 2 free practice sessions yesterday, but now the serious business really begins. Joey Mawson, then, who had it off at the end of free practice 2 yesterday, is the man who blasts over the timing line, and behind him on track is the Estonian Yuri Vips, working his way up through the right hand and out of turn 2. And Joey Mawson, with the clear track ahead of him, you can see taking the battle to everybody else early on here, trying to get a time in before he gets caught in traffic. Louise Beckett is in the pits, David Addison trackside. Qualifying underway then, and people conscious, having watched other sessions, of how the circuit becomes quite dirty, and that's one of the reasons why people make mistakes and go off and bring all the dirt and the dust back onto the road. Joey Mawson is the first casualty. Only a tiny slip, but a slip nonetheless. He drifted off the road and bails out of the lap then. With dirty tyres, there's no point pushing, so he lifts, he lets Yuri Vips get track position ahead of him, and now Joey Mawson's going to try and clean the tyres. You get 5 sets for the weekend across qualifying and the 4 races, so if you can keep a fresh set for the 4th race of the weekend, you're in the box seat for at least race honours in that. That's what Harry Newey did last time out in Delhi. So 44 presses on. Yuri Vips ahead of Joey Mawson. They're quick cars, these, they're spectacular cars. Come racing, you get points in the top 10, but these JA Motorsport built cars with input from Dallara, they have 2-litre Renault engines breathed on by Mountune, and the cars capable of 230 brake horsepower now start to offer up flying lap times. Through comes Yuri Vips, behind him is Joey Mawson, and then Harry Newey next in the queue as they work their way over the timing line. Yuri Vips then works his way up towards turn 2, the Estonian former kart champion. He was 6th in the ADAC F4 Championship last year, the one won by that man, Joey Mawson. He was 5th with a race win in the Italian Championship as well. So Vips and Mawson going head-to-head once more in this championship, which was inspired really by the Madras Motorsports Club, because the days of having Madras Grand Prix for Formula 3 cars were just unsustainable. So the club, led by Vicky Champot, pushed for a one-make category, which was both internationally attractive but also had a local involvement, which is where JA Motorsport comes in. And so they've raced in Bahrain, in Dubai, and then in Delhi this weekend, back to what you might call its spiritual home of the Madras motor racing track at Srivijayapur. Big lock-up from Harry Newey. He was very, very spectacular yesterday. Had a big moment at turn 3, but he survived it. He's had a big lock-up there as well, heading down towards turn 8. But he makes his way then now through the back part of the circuit. In a moment, they'll be the run behind the paddock. Now making his way out of turn 11 over the brow. We've got a red flag being shown, so the session is stopped very early. Now, trying to see why we've got a red flag. There's nothing immediately apparent in front of us on the pit straight, but somewhere out on track there's going to be a car in a dangerous place, I fear. So everybody making their way, everybody that can, that is, down the pit road. The engineers ready to receive the cars. And just like drivers come from all walks of life for a bit of winter racing, so the engineers do as well. Got people from all walks of life. Now this is Dan Tickton, new to the championship this weekend, getting it wrong coming out of turn 1. Bounces wide across the grass, back onto the tarmac just before turn 2 ahead of Yoshiaki Katayama. Brings a lot of dust and dirt and a bit of debris onto the circuit, but he does survive, so I'm not sure that's the red flag reason. But the session stopped nonetheless. We can't yet necessarily pinpoint a reason as for why. So we'd only had a handful of proper lap times, and Harry Newey had done the fastest of them from Juri Vips and then Felipe Drugovich, who's also been a race winner this year. 16 cars, we should have 2 of which, just to confuse matters a tad, are development cars for the future of the championship. They're driven by Narain Karthikeyan, number 1, and 51 Toby Sowry, former champion. But they don't score points, and they have to start the races from the pit lane. So for the purposes of qualifying, you can discount them. Neil Verhagen, the American, 16 years of age today. Happy birthday, the Red Bull Junior, who will move to the Formula Renault Euro Cup with MP Motorsport for the season ahead. He makes his debut in the championship. Another newcomer in 32 there, Presley Martono. His car just being pushed and pulled down the pit lane. Number 8, rebuilt after a crash in free practice 1 yesterday. You can see in the background, Chia Wing Hong. So it looks as though everybody might be back in, which further makes a question mark as to why we've got the stoppage. Unless there's any debris on the road that the officials didn't like, but the session is stopped. But as I say, there's no immediately obvious reason for why. So everybody brought back into the pit lane. 1 or 2 cars. Dan Tipton's will need a little bit of work after its moment at turn 1. But the plot thickens here. There's Neil Verhagen, the American. As I say, new to the championship this weekend. Got a good pedigree in karting, and then moved to car racing in 2015, both in Formula 1600 and 2 litre in the American Championships. Last year he was the Formula 1600 champion when he raced for the Cahill Motorsports team. Beat his teammate Peter Portano for the championship in their Megals. And Neil Verhagen then winning the SCCA Majors Tour and the Northeast Conference, and then in turn the SCCA National Championship runoffs as well. He was the youngest ever driver to do that at 15 years and 242 days. So he's crammed a lot of racing and a lot of success into a very short space of time. Formula Renault Euro Cup beckons for this year. Dan Tipton, number 9 there in the pale blue car, the other Red Bull Junior team driver here this weekend. Dan continuing his rehabilitation really after his incident in the MSA Formula race at Silverstone 2 seasons ago, which put him on a ban for the bulk of 2016. But when that was lifted, he came back and did a lot of racing, FIA Formula 3 championship outings at Hockenheim, BRDC F3 Autumn Trophy, Macau Grand Prix, and huge amount of potential in Dan Tipton. So it's a shame that we didn't see much of him in 2016, but he aims to put that right in 2017, and Arden International is where he's been placed for Formula Renault for the season to come. So if I look out of the window at the Marshalls post on the start line, there is no activity at all. There's no suggestion that a green flag is being prepared. In the pit lane, everybody sits and waits. So why we have this stoppage remains something of a mystery. There's no car being retrieved as far as I can see. Louise is down there trying to spot damaged cars that might suggest bodywork lying in the road, but it doesn't look as though that's the answer either. More pit lane klaxons sound. Engines fire up. Green flag is waved. So the session is live once more, but a very curious reason for the stoppage. Like, what was it? So Ralph Aaron in 99 ventures out. So too does Harry Newey, number 4. 44 is Juri Vips behind him. Gives us a chance to introduce the drivers. This 11, Felipe Drugovich. Behind him is Dylan Young, the Australian. Then Manuel Maldonado there, 83, spinner yesterday. Cousin of Pastor, Dan Tipton goes through. There's Narain Karthikeyan in one of the 2 development cars. But as I say, ignore that really for the purposes of qualifying. Toby Sowry on the move in the Indian colours behind. That's the other development car, number 51, behind Mick Schumacher in 25. Mick moving to Formula 3 like Joey Mawson for this coming season. We understand that the reason that the session had to be interrupted was to do with the timing system and a gremlin in the works. So that now sorted, and we are good to go. And Neil Verhagen, Pavan Ravishankar and also Chia Wing Hong also going onto new tyres for this resumption of the session. So we had about 5 minutes, but we can continue now. One or two drivers then, as I say, putting a new set of boots on, which perhaps is a good idea. Go out first if the track's a little bit dirty, let the people try and clean it, and then go for a fresher set of tyres rather than waste them on a dirty road. But we've had one qualifying session already this morning for the 1300cc single-seaters, a number of which were straying like they did yesterday and bringing grass and gravel back onto the road. There is Pavan Ravishankar, who was a repeat offender of spins yesterday. He's got new tyres on, but he will make his way down the pit lane. Joey Mawson, I understand, is another who's gone out on new boots. But Harry Newey gets crossed up at turn 2, just catches the gravel on the way into the corner, survives the moment, and just like yesterday, he's great to watch. Harry, who moved up a little bit in advance of the Mawsons and the Schumachers to Formula 3. He's done a year in F3 already. It wasn't an easy year, but he's had a spell in the category in FIA spec cars, and he turns his way then now through the S's. The next part of the lap will take him to turns 4 and 5, and then the long loop of turn 6. So Harry Newey then, at the moment, the gun driver. 1:31.071 is the time for the young British driver, son of Adrian Newey, of course. And Harrison, having done some karting, went into the French F4 Championship, the British Formula 4, as it then was, Winter Championship for the MSV built cars. Then a spell in the British F4 Championship for IJTC. He was championship runner-up that year to Neil Palmer. He also raced in a different type of F4 car, the Tattoo Chassis in the ADAC Championship in 2015. And then for 2015-2016 came and did this MRF Challenge. He was 5th, so he knows the circuit. Mick Schumacher likewise. Joey Mawson did not do last year's MRF Challenge. So the 3 title fighters, Mawson is the one on the back foot because he's still learning about the circuit. Harry Newey knows it. He comes over the timing line and on to another flying lap now. His second best time being a 31.3. And let's just have a look as he runs wide and skims the curb. This was the start of the lap, coming out of turn 1, and as he brakes for turn 2, just catches that little bit of debris. I think that was dropped by Dan Tickton when he was rejoining the road, so just caught that little bit of debris on the road, then hit the gravel as well on turn-in. Didn't really faze him on that lap. They're going through in 78 Yoshiaki Katayama in the multicoloured car. Katayama currently is 8th fastest, and Naren Karthikeyan is the overall fastest, but we'll discount him from the equation, as I say, because he won't start on pole. So where is this man, Joey Mawson? Well, at the moment, he's yet to do a lap time because he hadn't done a time before the red flag came out. Now he is on a flying lap. So 96, Joey Mawson runs a little bit wide, skims the curb as he works his way out of turn 9. Now through turns 10 and 11. Over the brow. Let's see where the first flying lap is going to put him. So this is the championship leader, Joey Mawson, the ADAC F4 champion of 2016, the Australian, heads over the timing line, and as he goes through, the lap is a modest one. It puts him 12th overall in real terms, so not great, but it's a start-up lap from Joey Mawson. A kart racer since the age of 7. 19 state, 3 national titles in a 10-year spell. Then he came across into car racing and in a novel approach for an Australian, single-seaters, and in France. Traditionally, if you have any sponsorship at all for your motor racing, it goes into supercars back home. A few have tried their hand at single-seaters. Some have made it work, like Mark Webber, James Courtney, Will Davison amongst others, Will Power particularly. Others less fortunate, but Joey Mawson came to the French F4 Championship, then to the German series in 2015. He was 3rd, and then he was the champion for Fritz van Amersfoort's team last year. But it's very, very hard for Australian drivers as Mawson locks up and skates off at the end of the straight. Off he goes, off he goes, off he goes. Just misses the tyres, just misses the barriers, but Joey Mawson sails off the road, and this, the championship leader, is in all sorts of strife. If he can't get going from there, he is staring at being on the back of the grid. He does get going. Very angry with himself. You can tell that off the engine note as he revs the whatnots off it to try and get himself free of the tyres. He had an off at the end of free practice 2 yesterday and did some damage to the floor. And Joey Mawson gets back on track now, but that was all self-induced. Too much speed carried down towards turn 8. Slithered off the road and able to survive, but time wasted, tyres dirty, and that was a new set of tyres as well that he has squandered. So Joey Mawson then in all sorts of drama, and he may pit to check the car over, we will see. But Joey Mawson then, here it is from another angle, down the straight, drifted off a little bit, got wheels onto the dirt, locked up, went straight on. Lucky to be able to turn away from the tyre barrier. He was very, very close to it, but I was in the middle of talking about Australian drivers and sponsorship and how difficult it is to find a budget to go and race funny-looking single-seaters on the other side of the world. Joey has done a good job of being able to continue to do that, and another year beckons then in Formula 3 for 2017. He wants to win this MRF Challenge, and this is rival from F4 and indeed in the MRF Challenge, Mick Schumacher spectacularly turning through the right at turn 2. Mick Schumacher currently second to Harry Newey. So he turns his way up towards the S's. Schumacher's best time done last lap through 1:31.103, just under a tenth shy of Harry Newey. Harry Newey, who is currently in the pit lane, is having a new set of tyres put on as well. So do one run, see what your time is, pit, put your second set on, and we are at the halfway point just over, so it makes sense to sort of split the session into two. One or two of the cars being overseen by experienced Formula 3 team manager Chris Weller, with Promo Technic fame. The technical delegate for the championship, Anthony Boyo Hyatt, who is the man behind the RR Racing F3 team, another experienced team principal. And Mick Schumacher then, accelerating his way up towards turn 12, then over the brow. Is this going to be an improvement for him? Out of the right hand, and the time he's got to try to beat is a 1:31.071. He goes over the timing line, and that is quicker. It is a 1:30.961, so Mick Schumacher takes effective pole position here. Narain Karthikeyan still outpacing him, but Mick Schumacher it is, who is on target for the 2 points if things stay as they are. Now, he's not yet gone onto a second set of tyres, I think I'm right in saying, whereas Harry Newey now has, Joey Mawson had as well, but he's rather wasted that by his grassy moment. Whereas Joey Mawson's time putting him at the moment, he has recovered from his off and he's gone 9th fastest, but even being mired in mid-grid is far from ideal for him. Ralph Aaron here is now 3rd quickest behind Schumacher and Newey. He works his way up through turn 11. The Estonian driver, former Italian F4 champion going back 2 seasons, race winner last year in Formula 3 in the European Championship, and helped by former British F3 champion Marco Asma, the Estonian who's here. Kelvin Burt, former British Formula 3 champion, also here to do driver coaching. So it's amazing who you find in the paddock. Ruben Svensson Cook as well, former British Formula 3 racer, here doing driver coaching. Joey Mawson over the timing line, goes quicker again. He's gone 5th overall, which is really 3rd if you take the development cars out of the equation. So Joey Mawson getting up the order. That off he has been able to come back from. It's not phased him too much, which is good to see. Times change again now as Schumacher, Aaron, Newey, Mawson, Verhagen and Vips becomes the top 6. Into the S's goes Joey Mawson then through that little flick. And then accelerates on towards turns 4 and 5. Then there's the run towards the long loop of turn 6, into which it comes now. Out of turn 7. Run down towards turn 8. That was where Mawson had his excursion a little while ago. No dramas this time around. Runs a little bit wide as he works his way up and out of turn 9. Down now towards the end of the lap. So ticking away. And is he going to be able to improve? Last time he did a 1:31.277, and it's not just one banzai lap you need out of this, you've got to do 2, remember, because your second best lap time dictates your grid position for race 3 that comes tomorrow. They get 2 races today, 2 tomorrow. Over the line goes Joey Mawson, not an improvement that time around. And Mick Schumacher, incidentally, the fastest thus far, he's also going onto new rubber in the pit lane. And he's going to do that with 14 minutes still to go. Over the timing line goes Harry Newey. He's on a new set of tyres as well, but not an improver that time around. Out of turn 1 he goes. Avoids the car coming out of the pit lane. That blends back in. Slowest at the moment, Chia Wing Hong, who had quite a big off in practice 1 yesterday morning. Did 2 corners of that car, left front, left rear. But Harry Newey, in the meantime, keeps on pushing. Making his way then now up towards the S's. That was where Joey Mawson also, of course, ran out of road on his first lap of the session, just drifted a little bit wide. Caught the dirt. And Harry Newey riding the curbs. The track knowledge he picked up last year, helping him to a decent time in free practice yesterday. Juri Vips, though, has now gone fastest. We put Juri Vips onto a new set of tyres as well. And the Estonian has done a 1 minute 30.790. So Juri Vips, for the moment, tops the times. He's had a 2nd in Bahrain, he's had a 3rd in Dubai in terms of his best race results, Juri Vips, but not a pole position. Can he hang on to it? What can this man do? Harry Newey then now is 4th. Joey Mawson has just gone over the timing line but not improved. So Harry Newey working his way down towards turn 12. Into the right-hander he will cut. Is this going to be an improvement? His current best is a 1:31.071, and that is not an improvement. So the order: Vips, Schumacher, Aaron, Newey, Mawson, birthday boy Verhagen. That's how they run at the moment. There is Juri Vips, the quickest driver thus far. Didn't really shine in the ADAC F4 Championship last year, but gaining experience of slicks and wing single-seaters all the time. This technical circuit, with its mix of fast sections and tight, slow corners, at the moment seeming to suit Juri Vips. And of course, if he does take pole position and takes 2 points away from those championship protagonists, it starts to upset people's plans a little bit, because suddenly you've got another driver in the mix taking not only qualifying points away, but also, if he's going to be up there in the mix during the races, possibly taking race-winning points off you as well. It's not just going to be about those 3 drivers for the title and what they can do, it's everybody else factored in around. And with 4 races over the weekend, for different drivers, fortunes are going to ebb and flow. So Joey Mawson down to turn 12. This was where he had a moment at the end of free practice 2 yesterday, powering his way now over the timing line once again. We've got 11 minutes of the session still to go. On that lap, Joey Mawson did not improve. Dan Tipton's been an improver, incidentally. He's now up to 7th. Harry Newey over the timing line, still 4th quickest, and now goes fastest of all. 1 minute 30.253. Snatches pole position away, quicker even than the development car of Naren Karthikeyan. So now Harry Newey takes the provisional 2 points for pole position, which will stand him in very good stead heading into the 2 races this afternoon. It also puts a bit more pressure onto Joey Mawson. So Harry Newey then, at the moment, is the fastest driver. Now what about Mick Schumacher? Because he's gone onto his new set of tyres, and I don't think we've yet seen the best out of that set for the German. That's Ralph Aaron, however, who is 6th fastest. A bit of correction needed approaching turn 11 as he heads now over the brow down to turn 12. So the Estonian, out of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, in which he raced last year, had a win at the Hungaroring, comes over the timing line. And what does that do for Ralph Aaron? Nothing, I'm afraid. Doesn't improve the time nor the grid position, therefore. Just under 10 minutes of the session to go. This is the man at the moment, set to start on pole position. So Harry Newey, it is over the brow, comes down towards the right-hander at turn 12. Can he go even faster and bag 2 pole positions out of all of this? Let's see. That was not quite so quick. He's done a 1:30.253 as his best, and 1 off the road. Is that Dylan Young? Yes, it is. So the Australian driver has had a moment, which I think he's down at turn 10, looking at that. The other Aussie in the entry, Joey Mawson, is still to be found 7th in the times. Now, Naren Karthikeyan, just for the purposes of record here, has done the fastest time. He's into the 1:29s. But Harry Newey has the next best time, and so he will take pole position for race 1. And I think I'm right in saying that he is also the fastest on the second best lap time. So at the moment, it's 2 pole positions going the way of Newey, and Joey Mawson is throwing everything at this. He comes then out of turn 9, and it's really carried away up over the curb and over the dirt. The danger is that he's overdriving a little bit here, but he's pushing, 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 that is for sure. Out of turn 12, so Mawson, 7th in the times, goes through. Does he improve? He does not. Presley Martono has improved to be 10th, and also Chia Wing Hong has improved his time. He's the slowest of the drivers, but getting closer to the ultimate pace. So Mawson up now towards turn 3, desperately trying to find something in these remaining 8 minutes. Number 8 is Chia Wing Hong, car rebuilt from yesterday. Naren Karthikeyan flicks through shot there ahead of Dylan Young. There in the background is Yoshiaki Katayama. The Japanese driver is 11th at the moment, having won the national class in the Japanese Formula 3 Championship last season. There is Yuri Vips, 2nd for race 1. And what about Dan Tincton? He is now 4th overall. That makes him really 3rd if you take Naren Karthikeyan out of the mix. So Dan Tincton racing these cars for the first time. Certainly not being race rusty, is he, after limited outings during 2016, but doing a good job here. And is he heading for the pit lane? It's a slow-ish lap this, after a decent one last time, but he will come into turn 12. So Newey, Vips, Tincton, Schumacher, Aaron, Drugovic, the top 6. Neil Verhagen rattles over the curb, passes the green flag from the starter's gantry. 7 more minutes of the session to go. Can Harry Newey hang on in there? Newey to Vips is half a second, so it's a big, big advantage that Harry Newey has been able to step up here. Dan Tincton we're looking at the moment as he works his way through the lap. There is Joey Mawson heading down towards turn 1, flicks through the right-hander. So Dan Tincton still pushing, pushing, pushing. Former cadet Carter, another ex-Carter. He raced as Mick Schumacher. It's another's maiden name to go racing without all the attention. When he graduated to another category, he raced as Mick Jr., and then when he came into cars, became Mick Schumacher. But he's had to do a lot of learning under a very bright spotlight. Over the timing line goes Schumacher. He's in traffic. He's got Chia Wing Hong ahead of him. Ideally, he wants the road to himself, so he'd made that mid-session stop for tyres and not really been able to yet use them to the full advantage, Mick Schumacher. So if he gets stuck in traffic for much longer, it's going to be wasted altogether. Harry Newey, complete contrast, has got the road to himself here. Makes the run down towards turn 8. Joey Mawson, meantime, comes out of turn 9 and sprints his way then now down towards the end of the lap. So Mawson is starting 7th if things stay as they are, and that's not really good enough, is it, for the championship leader? Works his way up towards the timing line once more. Through he will come. Is that an improvement? No, it's not. It's a circuit Joey has never raced at before, and it's not a place he's particularly comfortable with. It doesn't really suit his driving style, he reckons, and he's not being able to get his hat on with it. Off the road, Chia Wing Hong. No damage as far as I can see, but he's had a big grassy moment. Harry Newey has just headed for the pit lane, so I think that could well be the end of the session for the provisional pole driver. And Chia Wing Hong off the road. Yellow flags wave, and of course if you improve your time under a yellow flag, then there are going to be questions asked. Marshals rather languidly stride over to go and have a check, make sure that the car can get going. That's Yuri Vips then, who has now dropped behind Dan Ticktum. So Ticktum, first time out, front row start. Excellent effort this by Dan Ticktum. Yuri Vips down to third. And then it's Mick Schumacher fourth. Toby Sowry has been an improver, but again, the former champion in a development car will start from the pits, and that therefore puts Ralph Aaron and Felipe Drugovich back into the top six. What can Vips do before the very end? Well, it's the end of the session for Wing, who rather dejectedly looks at the front of the car, walked away. Meantime, Yuri Vips pushes on. Dan Ticktum has just gone over the timing line, but doesn't improve. Katayama through the shot out of turn 8. Vips behind. You can see that it is turn 8 where Jia Wing Hong went off the road. More and more drivers heading down the pit road, so conscious now that they're not being able to improve, there's no point taking life out of the tyres, they may as well park. Whereas Yuri Vips, let's see, is he going to go for a time here or is he going to bail? He's going to carry on by the look of it. This might be his last shot because improvements now very, very hard to come by. Up towards the timing line he will go, and Yuri Vips goes over the line, does not improve. So it's still Harry Newey looking at 2 pole positions out of this. The other one that's rather frustrated, I suspect, Mick Schumacher, who has just improved, as off the road goes Yuri Vips at turn 2. So Vips makes a mistake just as Schumacher improved to go second fastest. Mick Schumacher then second to Harry Newey, and that has prompted Harry Newey to come back out from the pit lane just in case he needs to respond. So it's now 2 tenths between Newey and Schumacher. Vips, after his spin, here it was at turn 2, just hooked a wheel onto the dirt, turned into the corner as normal, and then the world suddenly changed for him. Round it went. So that, I fear, is the end of, not the session as such, but the end of improvements for Yuri Vips, because it'll take him a lap or so to clean the tyres, and more dust would have been brought onto the road anyway, making it perhaps a little bit more slippy at turn 2. Joey Mawson, what can he do before the end? He's really struggling in this now. He's 9th, which is in real terms 7th if you take the development cars out of the mix. Dan Ticktum through 3rd. So he's lost that potential front row starting slot, but even so, it's been a good effort this by Dan Ticktum, who doesn't know the cars as well as many of those that he's competing against this weekend. Part of that Red Bull Junior programme, which is great news for him, but he's got to deliver. Red Bull not noted for its mercy where driver development is concerned. You've got to deliver, and deliver now. Patience is in short supply, so Dan Ticktum here rising to the challenge, and the reason of course that he's doing these races to make him race fit so that he can hopefully go on to win the Formula Renault Euro Cup in 2017 for Arden International, for whom he'll be driving. So Joey Mawson through shot, Dan Ticktum behind him. Race 2 and race 4, you take the race result of the previous and reverse the top 6. So if Joey Mawson, for example, were to finish 6th in race 1, he might find himself on pole, or should find himself on pole for race 2. But at the moment, the danger is that poor qualifying puts you in the body of the field, puts you at risk as a very sideways Ticktum flips the car into turn 12. Joey Mawson goes over the timing line, doesn't improve. Dan Ticktum doesn't improve either. We're almost at the end of the session because we've got half a minute to go. Those two will squeeze one more lap out of it, but very, very hard now to see more improvements. And Joey Mawson off the road yet again. It's been a really scrappy session, and this time he bails. So Joey Mawson, 9th fastest. It'll be 7th when you take the new cars out of the equation. He's sideways at turn 1, too much speed carried in. Holds the slide, but bounces his way across the grass. And what a disappointing session for the championship leader. Dan Ticktum had got ahead of him, but he also has backed out of this. So Joey Mawson tries to press on, but it's a forlorn hope. The checkered flag's out anyway. But I think Joey will have a bit of soul-searching at the end of this session. It's not been ideal at all. The Australian comes here as the championship leader, but a new circuit for him, a track that doesn't really suit his style either, and the pressure is on. And after a tiny off at the end of yesterday, he's had a rather more spectacular session here this morning. So the flag is out, the driver in the 129s, Narain Karthikeyan, doesn't score points, doesn't run with the rest of the grid, nor does Toby Sowry. So it means Harry Newey, Mick Schumacher, Dan Ticktum, Yuri Vips, Ralph Aaron, Felipe Drugovich becomes the top 6. Yuri Vips, in the end, falling to 4th fastest, but even so, not a bad effort. And this man, Jerry Mawson, 7th. And it could be worse, but I think he'd be pretty frustrated with that. Making his way down the pit road then. Dan Ticktum behind him. Dan, in contrast, I would think, would be pretty pleased with 3rd. First time out. Both in terms of car and track. And the engineers ready to receive their charge as they come down the pit lane. Mick Schumacher, he's taken the flag, ends up 2nd fastest. Harry Newey's time was 1 minute 30.253. Schumacher 1 minute 30.409, so not much to choose between the two of them. Mick, at the end of free practice yesterday, he topped the times in free practice 2, was remarkably laid back about this championship. If it happens, it happens, was really his approach. He said, I'm really focusing on Formula 3 for the rest of the year. If I win this, it'd be good, but you know, it's just to keep my hand in, do some racing in the winter. It's not the be-all and end-all of the season. But that aside, I think he'd be pretty pleased if he could win it. The cars making their way then to scrutineering, post-session. And this is how we look, with Harry Newey taking the 2 points for pole, Mick Schumacher being 2nd ahead of Dan Ticktum, Yuri Vips 4th, and fellow Estonian Ralph Aaron behind him 5th fastest. So Harry Newey is the man for pole position, and that is a 4th pole of the year. Took 2 in Bahrain and 1 in Dubai. So pole number 4 for Harry Newey, good job done, and that brings him just a little closer to Jerry Mawson in the championship. Points you score in terms of races from the top 10, so it's 25 points for a race win. So even though 211 plays now 186, and it seems like quite a big gap with 100 points on offer for the weekend, things can certainly still change. So you're looking back up the pit straight under the big MRF tyre. MRF being the Drax Rubber factory, enthusiastic sponsors of this championship. And let's have a quick look back at some of the best bits of qualifying. For Jerry Mawson, though, he had a bit of a wobble at turn 1 early on. Dan Ticktum was the first driver to go rally crossing, bringing out a yellow flag at turn 1, and it wasn't long before we had a red flag because of a timing issue. Yuri Vips was quick to begin with. Ticktum pressed hard and almost came a cropper a second time, locking up coming out of turn 1 into turn 2 on the wrong line. Jerry Mawson pushed and pushed and pushed up on the curb out of turn 12. As number 1, Narain Karthikeyan put himself to the very top of the times in the 29s. Mick Schumacher had a rather wide run coming out of turn 8, but not as bad as Jerry Mawson, who locked up at the end of the straight, 2 wheels on the dirt. He was a passenger as he went straight on. Ralph Aaron was another one pushing on to good effect in number 99, the Estonian driver being 5th come the end of the session. Yuri Vips, the other Estonian in the entry, was briefly the quickest, and Pavan Ravishankar had an early spin. He tried to recover from that and ended up 13th overall. Mawson's session didn't really get a whole lot better, try as he might, as Yuri Vips worked his way over the timing line, chased by Felipe Drugovich, a race winner already this season as well. Schumacher kept on pushing on a new set of tyres, but found himself in traffic. Toby Sowry in the development car came across a spinning Vips, and that did for Yuri Vips' chances of improvement towards the end of the session. Dan Ticktum, having got himself up near the front, traded times with the championship regulars, whereas Jerry Mawson had another big slide coming out of turn 1. He was able to recover from that, but in the end, 7th on the grid, and Harry Newey is the man on pole position, and Harry is with Louise right now.
Well, yes, I'm with Harry Newey, and you wasn't sure if you had P1 there, were you?
No, we don't have radius in the car, and I saw a board that said 30.1, and I thought I did a 30.2, so I got a bit nervous for a while there, but no, came in, asked someone, and they said, yeah, you're P1, so no, really happy with that.
MRF Challenge it's keeping hotting up the whole time. We never know who is going to be pole, do you? You never know who's going to win this race, especially with what's happened to Jerry Mawson out there.
Yeah, I think it's, to be honest, I'm not really focusing on anything to do with what's going to happen. I just try and do the best job I can, and whatever that ends up being is what it ends up being.
You have knowledge here from last year, so what are your thoughts for race 1?
My thoughts are after the first lap, as long as you keep it on the tarmac, that's pretty much going to be the finishing order at the front. Further back, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll let you get off to scrutineering. Thanks very much, Harry.
The point behind that from Harry Newey being that it's difficult to overtake around here, and so if you do avoid making mistakes, you're going to be well placed. Well, it's going to be fascinating to see whether that prediction is borne out. They've got 2 races to come. The first of them is going to be at 12:50. Join us for that if you can. There's more qualifying action to come shortly here from the MMRT, but with 2 races for the 2-litre cars, plus single-seaters, both 1600 and 1300 as well, and saloon cars. It's a very busy programme for the officials here this weekend. You're looking at Chia Wing Hong's car being retrieved. I don't think it's got any damage, but it wasn't able to rejoin at the end of that session. So he is hopefully going to be good for the first race without any damage to repair on that car, but frustrating that he went off and lost track time towards the very end. So Harry Newey ends the session as the pole driver, and Mick Schumacher second then on the grid. Mick comes here third in the title race, could still win it. He's perhaps the outsider because he's further back of those that have a chance, but you never know, as Harry Newey has made the point, overtaking not that easy around here. So Mick Schumacher will be second on the grid. Let's hear his thoughts on qualifying heats with Louise.
Again, so close between you and Harry.
Yeah, I heard that it was not too bad. The gap was pretty big, I have to say. 1.5 tenths, I think. Hoped it would have been a bit closer and I would have been in front, but I think now I have to see in the races how it will go. For sure, we'll improve the car and try to fight back.
And I spoke to Harry about it as well. You have to look at Joey Mawson's performance as well.
Yeah, I don't actually know where he qualified, so honestly I'm concentrating on Harry at the moment because he's the one to beat, I think, because he's similar speed than us. So I'm looking forward to the battles in the racing. So yeah.
Thank you.
So Mick Schumacher walked away, and he will discover in due course that Joey Mawson was 9th in the times, but 7th in real terms because of these 2 development spec cars not starting on the grid. They go from the pit lane, so it puts in real terms Joey Mawson 7th fastest. So Newey, Schumacher, Tictum, the top 3. Dan Tictum doing a very good job, as I was saying towards the end of the session. And there is damage, isn't there? We couldn't see it from the earlier shot, but it's the left front corner of Chia Wing Hong's car. So that's why he wasn't able to rejoin. I wonder what he hit, whether it was somebody else to do that, or a barrier that we didn't see. We hadn't got a shot of the incident itself, but clearly damage sustained by Chia Wing Hong. So that car will need some work before race 1. That comes up at 12:50 local time, and it's 10:46 now. We're 5.5 hours ahead of the UK here, as the track calms briefly before the next activity, which is going to be for the mixture of saloon cars in the Indian Junior Touring Car Championship and the Esteem Cup and the so-called Superstock Championship, and they will be on track next. But at the end of the MRF 2000 qualifying, it's a 4th pole for Harry Newey. We'll take a break. See you later. there's a frantic 15 minutes underway here. All the saloon cars, those from the Super Stock, the Esteem Cup and the Indian Junior Touring Car Championship are all out on the circuit. And there's a real mix here of cars with a maximum engine size of 2.2 litres, with Hondas, Suzukis, Hyundais, and already one of the Suzukis is in trouble because off the road from the Esteem Cup has gone 22, which is Rohit VRR. The car gets going again, but I suspect it won't be the only driver that we see in strife this morning. You can see how busy the circuit is, and the cars on their outlap pouring their way down towards turns 10 and 11 at the end of the lap. So this circuit that's given plenty of action thus far this weekend, we haven't even got to racing yet, now turns itself over for a very short, sharp 15-minute qualifying session. They had 2 half-hour free practice periods yesterday, but only 15 minutes of qualifying, so pressure is on, and it is Varun Aneka who is the one that leads them across the line in 88 from Arjun Narendran behind him, former champion. And as the field accelerates its way up now towards turn 2, big lock-up, big slide, and well held from Varun Aneka. It oh so nearly came to grief, but he has survived the moment and carries on. So the Honda Civic recovers, and 77 then, as you see the replay of how Aneka got it wrong, loses the back, slides through turn 2, bounces across the grass, and then rejoins. So Varun Aneka with a very, very spectacular start to the session, and that now leaves this man, Arjun Narendra, out on his own in terms of track space, working his way up through the far point of the lap. And a big strife, that looks like it's gone over, doesn't it? 64 with lots of damage. Glass on the road, debris on the road. That could be a stoppage, actually. But that's a big, big impact. It looks, as I say, like it's gone wide at turn 1 and then gone over. So 64 it is. That's Sudanand Daniel Rajan. But yes, with a smashed windscreen and a damaged mirror, and the driver can't get out. I think in the impact, the door has wedged itself shut. But anybody coming out of the pit lane now has got to go through all the debris and over the glass. So the good news is that the driver is okay. Sudanand Rajan clambers out. But after a spectacular roll, by the look of it, looking at all the evidence there, he is able to walk away. So quick and free practice yesterday was Sudanand Daniel Rajan. 22 is off the road once again, so Rohit VRR having another drama with the Suzuki Swift. So Rajan helps to push the car away, what's left of it. Actually, that's not as bad as it could be. I know it sounds a bit flippant, that, with bits hanging off it, but it could have been a whole lot worse. And somebody also getting it wrong, Imran Abdul Majid, number 1. Welcome to our family, baby. Welcome to the grass as well. Team Game Over. Not perhaps the best title for a squad operating that car. Meantime, it's still Arjun Narendran who is the fastest, threading his way up in a moment through turns 4 and 5. Hustling on, using all of the road. Chandresh Tolia, 32, is second fastest. Tolia had a rather flappy front yesterday. The bonnet was trying to peel itself open all the way through free practice 2. Amazingly, it stayed shut, despite the air doing its best to get underneath. But Tolia is currently second, and then it is Sri Hariram who is third fastest. He had a spin or 2 yesterday as well. Down to turn 8 comes Narendran. And that is yet again Rohit VRR. It's on his 3rd spin. He's been very, very busy. And that is coming out of the last corner, so the marshals sprint in that direction to see if they are needed to give the car a push. Meantime, Narendran looks to try and pull further away from the opposition. He's 2 seconds to the good here. It isn't the smartest car in the entry, but it's one of the quickest. So it goes nicely in the hands of Narendran. He comes over the brow, down now towards the right-hander at turn 12. Flicks the car in. Back onto the power, and then accelerates his way up over the timing line. 2 minutes 0.5 is bettered by 1:59.851 on that lap. Looks across the pit boards, and then Narendran flicks the car down into turn 1. Now, how did Rohit VRR get it all wrong? That's how. Did he headbutt the barrier? Oh yes, he did. Ka-thunk. But these are tough cars, so quite literally he bounces back. Through goes 55, which is Vinod S, former drag racing champion. Turning his way now up through turn 2. Sri Hariram, currently third fastest, going nicely. Takes the curb on the inside of turn 3 there, but Hariram is another one here trying to get himself clear track space. 26 cars in total we have, although a number have yet to do a flying lap like Rohit VRR, because he keeps having moments which are all conspiring against him. But Sri Hariram heads up towards the S's. Flick, and Arjun Narendran still heads the times then, 1:59.851. Around the outside of 24, which is Mohammed Faisal Kuti, who was off the road yesterday, and do I aspire flapping bonnet on 75 now, as Anant Pitawala has just gone up to second fastest. Have a look at the left-hand side of number 75, because Sri Hariram turns his way through the right and left flick at 8 and 9, and yes, the bonnet has lost a bonnet pin, hasn't it, on the left side, so it's started to prise open a bit. Through he comes, down towards the braking zone for turn 10. So it is Narendran the fastest, up to second now, number 44, Keith D'Souza. Now, he was last year's junior champion, Keith D'Souza. He's also raced in the Vento Series in 2016. And Keith D'Souza, second fastest, 1.2 seconds back from Narendran. Through comes Sri Hariram, down to sixth fastest now. So he's leaving himself with a bit of work to do on the next lap. Next group of cars headed there by 24, Mohammed Faisal Kuti. Toyota, number 3, goes through the shot, that being Hisham EKP, one of the junior drivers, graduating from drifting. Number 6 through is Srinivas Tija K. Number 6, Srinivas Tija K, is fourth fastest at the moment, pushing on. He works his way down through the back part of the circuit. In the background, you've got the yellow car 32 of Chandresh Tolia. That's fallen away a little bit in the times. The performance racing cars switch track position, so Raghu Rangasamy, who is the man to beat also in the Formula 1600s this weekend, lets him go. Rangasamy, who drives number 99, like a number of people, on double duty, but intriguingly doing saloons and single-seaters, rather than concentrating on just one discipline, if you like. Number 14 is RP Rajaratnam, off the road again for the second time. Number 1 there, Imran Abdul Majid. He rejoins, but somewhat chastened. So there, up towards the timing line, is 75, Sri Hariram, who had dropped back. He's up to 10th now. That was an improvement. Finds a little bit more time on that last lap through. It's still Narendran from Keith D'Souza, the top 2. Next one over the timing line of note is going to be Srinivas TJ, and it very much is game over. That's another one that's rolled, isn't it? Trying to get out of the car is Mohammed Faisal Kuti, but have a look at the roof line, have a look at the windscreen, have a look at the bonnet. It looks as though it is game over now, and the door doesn't want to open. So Mohammed Faisal Kuti tries to clamber out. Let's have a look what happened to him. He gets sideways, he gets onto the dirt, he tries to correct it, and it just digs in and flicks him straight over. Over once, wow, over twice, over again, crikey. And it keeps on bouncing. Huge roll from Mohammed Faisal Kuti. Absolute monster. And it very nearly toppled over another time. And throughout that, arm out of the window. You understand why some governing bodies insist on either the window being closed or netting being put in. That could have been a whole lot worse for the driver. He's lucky that he's able to clamber out the other side. But Mohammed Faisal Kuti, after a very spectacular roll indeed, is okay, but I'm not sure we're going to see much more of that car. Breathe a big sigh of relief now, and when he sees it on television, he'll realise how lucky he was. So he surveys the damage, and he's a bit wobbly. Oh, his boots come off in all the drama. So let's have another look. To begin with, you think he's just going to slide wide, but when it gets back onto the tarmac and it's pointing the wrong way, the wheels dig in, as it were, and just spit him straight over. That's one. Two. Here comes the third. Suspension ruined. Roll number three. Liquid everywhere. Springs everywhere. What was that in the end? Four. Very nearly toppled over again. And Mohammed Faisal Kuti, a lucky man, as I say, with his arm coming out of the window during the course of that. He's fortunate not to suffer an injury. So, that car is on the grass, stranded and going nowhere, but the session carries on. And 88, Varun Anika, who was a spinner earlier on, is third quickest. 55 heads off the road, not for the first time this weekend as well. Vinod S, the former drag racing champion, will rejoin. And the survivors of this rather gruelling session, which include number 22, Rohit VRR. Remember, he's been in the barriers as well, working his way out of turn 8. Now behind Varun Anika. Now that 88 Honda is going to be one to watch, I think, in this, because it's getting faster and faster. That runs in the Superstock Championship. You've got the Esteem Cup for the one-make Suzukis as well. And then you've got the two cars that run in the Junior Championship. So at the moment, Arjun Narendran is the fastest. But here, Varun Anika heads up towards the timing line. Does it go quicker? He does not on that lap. Up to fourth has gone Viresh Prasad, number 10. And in the background, with lots of task wheel coming out of the final turn, comes 42. Another of the Superstock class, the Mumbai driver, Arjun Zaveri. The Esteem 99 of Ragul Rangasamy goes through. And the flag is out. So the drama comes to an end, almost disappointingly, because it's been a very spectacular session. But at the end of it, it is Arjun Narendran who will be the fastest. And we're not quite done yet, because Kasha Sai is off the road in 54 in his Esteem. Gets going again. And this is what you can anticipate when we get to racing. 3 wide. Ragul Rangasamy is the one being the real cavalier there, going through the middle of the pack. It's touring cars, what do you expect? So for Arjun Narendran, he's been a former champion anyway, he will start on pole position. Keith D'Souza, the reigning junior, with him at the front of the grid. Could be a real clash of the titans, this, going into race 1. And somewhere in the dust, who was that leaving the scene of the crime? I think that was Varun Anika once again. So I think we're going to have a few cars order combat after this. The two that rolled then being 64, that of Sudanan Daniel Rajan, and 24, Mohammed Faisal Kuti. Now they would have been on the back row of the grid, but it may be that there is no back row ultimately, because the cars can't be repaired. That's Keith D'Souza, so he's the man that's second fastest, 8/10 back from Arjun Narendran. So Keith D'Souza, who's raced in the Vento Cup in this country before coming into the Esteem Cup for this season as well. The Hondas getting themselves together. There's also one without a rear window. Number 9 has had a spin. So that Honda gets going again now for Rajashika. And 44 out of the Esteem Cup heads down towards us, Keith D'Souza. The Esteem effectively a booted Swift. So plenty of drama in practice and qualifying. How many cars are we going to have left coming over the weekend? Because the saloons get 3 races. But there's going to be a bit of time in clearing up all of that, I would have thought. Down the pit lane come the survivors, including number 18. Oh, that's another one that's been overlooked. Number 10, that's had a big spectacular off. Veresh Prasad, who is 4th fastest, but another car that has gone over by the look of it. Damaged windscreen, damaged roof. There's wheels off as well. Was that from... Oh, that's not from a car that we've already accounted for. That's from Rajaranran's car. So RP Rajarajan, no boot and 3 wheels. Absolutely manic session. And a lot of drivers seem to be in self-destruct mode. So, in theory, when they race, they will have 8 laps, but it could be until the last car is running, couldn't it? It's almost like a DD. RP Rajarajan surveys the damage and tries to work out why the wheel has come off and what's happened to his boot lid. Well, the wheel is somewhere, but we haven't found the boot lid yet. Anyway, let's try and see what happened to him. Off comes the wheel, and it flees the scene of the crime. And Rajarajan tries to rejoin, but with the 3-wheel car, going nowhere. There's going to be quite a gap before the next session in terms of all the tidying up, I think, that's needed here. So, lots of damaged cars to be retrieved. And Arjun Narendran ends the session fastest from Keith D'Souza. Varun Anika 3rd, Veresh Prasad's battered car 4th, and then RP Rajarajan, who we've also just seen with damage, 5th. So anybody that's got a car that still works can go to the grid, and we'll see how many survive at the end of not just race 1, but heaven forbid race 3. How many are going to survive to the end of the weekend? An awful lot of cars with damage, but those 2 spectacular rolls, the one that we saw most graphically, Mohammed Faisal Kuti, 4 times going over, and that with enough damage, I think, to put the car out. Maybe for 1 race, might be that they can get the cars rebuilt for races 2 and 3, but I fear that it may not be possible to see that car in race 1. So the 3 different categories, the Indian Junior Touring Cars, the Esteem Cup and the Superstock class, all get together for plenty of drama. Let's remind ourselves of who did what to which and to whom. Varun Anika was quick early on, but when he got to turn 2, suddenly found his own line. He locked up, the back stepped out of line, round it came. He was able to rejoin from that, but he wasn't the only one to be in the wars, because soon after we had this big slide from car number 1 from the Esteem Cup. That was Imran Abdul Majid. Then we had headbutting the wall Rohit VRR. He was able to rejoin the session in fairness. Got himself to 13th. Lots of damage on the front of 88. Of number 10, Veresh Prasad, as he went through the shot with a smashed screen and a roof line with damage. And then there was this, and now at full speed from Mohammed Faisal Kuti. 4 times over, and a very badly damaged car. Thankfully, the driver okay, but that might well be the last we see of that, with a huge amount of damage. And for others, they were still in strife right towards the end of the session, with RP Rajarajan's car losing a wheel and its boot lid right at the very end as well. So you're looking down on the pit straight. That's coming out of the last corner. Lighting gantry atop the bridge, and the gantry on the right-hand side there is where the checkered flag will be waved from at the end of the race, end of a session. The officials have just behind them the race control building, and marshals there overseeing the recovery, eventually, of RP Rajarajan's Esteem. There is Mohammed Faisal Kuti's car, which looks battered from that side, but it's only when you see the whole accident you realise just how damaged it is, because the suspension broken and the car in a real mess. So there is the car of 42 down the pit road. And pit lane now empty, ready for the next session. We've got one more qualifying session to go, which is for the MRF Challenge Formula 1600s, and then we're straight into racing. A busy, busy day here at the Madras Motor Race Track, Irangottakotai, near Sriperumbudur in the Tamil Nadu region. Imran Abdul Majid comes down the pit lane. And Varish Prasad being given his regulation hat, because we're about to hear from him and find out why he's got all the damage. He is with Louise.
Well, Varish Prasad, there was a lot of incidents in that qualifying, including you. You've got a lot of damage to the car. What happened?
Heading into the C1, I was following a Esteem Cup car number 64. He lost the traction and he spun out, eventually toppling his car. Since I was following him, he just rolled over and fell on top of me. And, it was not a start for the season. Good start for the season.
You're obviously shaken up by it.
Yeah, a little bit. But again, there were two more cars which spun out and rolled over. It was a happening event actually. Never expected this to happen. We were hoping to cut the 2-minute barrier, so it's a little disappointed, seriously.
Is that going to affect how you approach your race and maybe be a bit more careful?
No, not at all. Let's see what the damage is to the car. There's no handling issues, then we will push. You saw me, even then we were still going around. A little bit of traction, the balance was not right, but still I could manage to qualify second. So we are going all out.
Thank you, Varish.
So the car sustaining damage, not by anything that the driver did, but by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So by being toppled on by the rolling number 64, Sudanan Rajan, that's where the damage came from. So let's see how much of the wreck can be repaired in the context here of Mohammed Faisal Kuti. So Varish Prasad, who will start third on the grid, was quickest in free practice yesterday, so we know he's a gun. He should be up at the front of the field, but he's got that damage to sort out, and as Louise was making the point to him, he's clearly a little bit shaken up by that. There is Mohammed Faisal Kuti's car being retrieved, and that I'm not confident for, certainly for race one. Depends really how energetic and how many spare parts Team Game Over has got here, because it's not just the bodywork, it's the suspension. You can see that left rear wheel hanging off. You saw springs fly away from the car as it bounced and bounced and bounced, but very spectacular accident. And Mohammed Faisal Kuti, good to see, was okay despite the frightening incident that he suffered there. There's Rajaran's car in the background, and there's the wheel has been located. If you look to the left of the screen, the missing wheel, about to be reunited with the car. So, have wheel will travel. We've got the 1600 qualifying to come, and that's followed in turn by the first race of the weekend for the 1300cc Formula LGB racers. Car on the transporter, and there being retrieved is the car of Rajarajan being brought back. So we are, I think, now looking at a clearer track in readiness of the MRF 1600 Challenge qualifying. Here at the MMRT, we'll have a break and be ready for more qualifying in a few minutes' time. The MRF Challenge 1600cc cars, the Formula 1600s, the Van Diemen built chassis are out on track qualifying for their 2 races here at the MMRT, the Madras Motor Race Track near Irangota-Kotai in Sriperumbudur, and the full international circuit is the one in use this weekend. There is, as you can just see from the link road there, a club circuit and this 3.717 kilometre circuit at Irangota-Kotai. A great lap, a very technical one, it's very twisty, and it is a very hot day indeed. This session is going to last for 15 minutes to determine the 2 race grids, best qualifying, second best qualifying times for the drivers, and these 1600cc cars, a halfway house in a sense between the Formula 1300s that we have already had out qualifying and will race shortly here in Chennai, but also the 2 litre cars, and a number of drivers have graduated from these into the 2 litres. They aren't as powerful, but they do have the aerodynamic aids, so it's a big step up from the 1300cc Formula LGB. But these cars with the 1.6 litre Ford Duratec engine, 140 brake horsepower. It's a Van Diemen designed chassis, and the cars very rapid little bits of kit. They only weigh 450 kilos. They are 140 brake horsepower, and this is the man who has rather dominated the weekend thus far, number 99, Raghu Rangasamy, who's also taking part in the saloon car formula that we have here this weekend. But Rangasamy, a very successful driver, former Indian national champion, Superstock national champion, Formula 1300 national champion, and second in this series in 2016. Yesterday, he was the man to beat across free practice, although was beaten right at the very end of practice 2 by 24 thousandths of a second by Sandeep Kumar, who came through to take the checkered flag and do the gun time. Bear in mind that Rangasamy had sat for most of the session in the pit lane. He's perhaps got the fresher tyres and also has the confidence, I would think, to know that he can push when he needs to. What he's also been doing is going out and doing the best time right at the start of the session when everything is cool, and then as the cars get hotter, he's just sat in the pit lane. Others have persevered and tried to get near his time, but rarely have they been able to do it. He's therefore got the time, and he's also kept life in the tyres. So his car is the first to come over the timing line, so Rangasamy goes through onto his second flying lap. That is a 1:41.990, but might possibly come down. We'll see what the opposition has in retaliation. Sandeep Kumar 3 seconds adrift on his first lap. The local man comes from Chennai, to Sandeep Kumar, the law student. He's raced in Formula BMW type cars. He's raced in the Polo Cup and did have a spell going back to about 2013, 2014 now in the DTM supporting Sirocco R Cup, because with Volkswagen having its successful Polo then Vento championship over here, there's always been this case of promoting Indian talent into that main championship, which used to be for Polos then Siroccos in Germany. Was then replaced by the Audi Sport TT Cup. Number 10, who is another man on double duty this weekend, is Arya Singh, driving also in the Formula 1300s. And behind is number 8, Ishan Dadiwala, the 2016 Vento champion, co-founder of a company called the Indian Brand, which specialises in t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of memorabilia with an Indian theme. And Ishan Dadiwala had a big moment towards the end of the second free practice period yesterday. Slithered off the road quite spectacularly, but survived it. Number 2, Anindith Reddy, just up the road. The driver from Hyderabad, the FM STI national champion in 2016. Over the timing line goes Rangasamy once more. So number 6, Sandeep Kumar, who was the fastest driver at the end of practice 2 yesterday. The championship, incidentally, they've only raced at one event, and that was in Delhi. 2 races there. One race was won by Ananth Shanmugam, the other by Nayan Chatterjee. They had a win and a third each, so they tie on points, and neither of them are here. This man, who took 2 seconds, Anindith Reddy, is 4 points back in the championship, and therefore should be able to leave as the championship leader if he keeps out of trouble, because Alex Bora and Ansel Shah, who are next behind him, are absent as well. So it's a slightly strange entry, this. A number of the drivers that we saw a few weeks ago skipping this race this weekend. And Anindith Reddy is now also the fastest in the session. He's on a 1 minute 40.196 ahead of Raghuram Rangasamy. Third fastest is now Kartik Tarani, and Sandeep Kumar fourth ahead of Chetan Karada and Arya Singh. Karada, another driver who we've seen in the 1300s as well. So Anindith Reddy concentrating purely on these cars, not being distracted by any other formula that's racing this weekend. Heads down towards now turn 8. Goes left at 9, has already had a moment because it just looks as though the left-hand radiator's got quite a lot of grass in it already. Rangasamy goes across the line. He's 3/100ths back from Anindith Reddy. So Reddy at the moment has provisional pole. We've only got 7 minutes of the session remaining as well. Over the brow, number 10 Arya Singh, 6th fastest. He's on the tail of Anindith Reddy. Just had an improvement from Chetan Karada and also Siddharth Trivalora, who was a spinner yesterday. He's up to 6th fastest. Reddy goes through. That was a 140.1. Sorry, no, not an improvement on his 140.196. We only get the best lap time, so that wasn't an improvement, but I can't tell you what the lap was. Arya Singh, in the meantime, stuck behind him, not able to improve either. So Singh still 7th in the times. Anindith Reddy then accelerating his way up towards turn 6. The Hyderabad driver, whose grandfather is the chairman of Apollo Hospitals, big Indian concern. 99 Raghuram Rangasamy then, trying to find 31 thousandths of a second in order to go top. Can he do it? He turns now down through the right-hander at turn 12, powering his way up towards the line. Through he will go. Goes quickest. That's a 139.641. So Raghuram Rangasamy up to the top. To the timing line now comes number 6. Now this is Sandeep Kumar, who is only 5th fastest. Should be a bit quicker than that. Goes third, 140.244. Behind him is Kartik Tarani, number 16. Tarani, former polo champion, Formula MRF F1600 champion 2 years ago, 2015. So the order starting to shuffle a little bit now. But Rangasamy half a second to the good over Anindith Reddy. Rangasamy has looked like the man to beat, as I say, all weekend, but what more can Sandeep Kumar offer? He's creeping back into the equation, 6/10ths away from Rangasamy. They've got half an hour periods in qualifying. It's only 15 minutes as far as they've got, sorry, half hour periods in free practice, only 15 minutes for qualifying, and so limited amount of laps that can be done here. Kartik Tarani accelerates his way down through turn 8. So Tarani with the road to himself, not looking like he's going to be impeded by anybody, should therefore be able to string together a good lap. Makes the run down through the kink that takes him to turn 10. But the end of the lap is work, work, work all the time. It's this constant switchback and overtaking, especially in a slicks and wings single-seater, not that easy. So the point was being made by the 2-litre drivers at the end of qualifying that if you keep out of trouble, you should be able to hold your place, and that puts even more emphasis on qualifying. Rangasamy then the fastest, but not longer, because Kartik Tarani here goes quickest of all by 2/1000ths of a second. Kartik Tarani, 1 minute 39.639, goes to the top of the times. Provisional pole position for Tarani. So it was the perfect lap. He wasn't impeded by anybody, and it was just him versus the clock. And so Tarani it is, up to the top. A good effort this being put in. Can anybody respond? That's the next question. Sandeep Kumar over the timing line doesn't go quicker. Anthony George behind him, who's done lots of racing in the UAE in sports cars and saloon cars. And he accelerates now up towards the right-hander at turn 2. Meantime, Sandeep Kumar struggling to, for the moment at least, recapture yesterday's form. We've got 3 more minutes on the clock, that's all. So we're heading towards the end of the session. Quite calm compared to an awful lot of what we've seen this morning. We've had quite a lot of spins in the MRF 2 litres. We've had incidents aplenty in the saloons with a number of cars upside down. And the Formula 1300s also exploring the outer reaches of the circuit. So far, it's been quite calm in 1600 land. Kartik Tarani, Raghu Rangasamy, then this man, Anindith Reddy. That's the order. To the timing line will come ready, but is he going to be able to go faster? 1 minute 40 becomes 1 minute 39, so yes is the answer, but he stays third. 1:39.975, not an improvement for him, frustratingly. So Anindith Reddy stays third, Kartik Tarani fastest. 2 points on offer as well in the championship for a pole position. Sandeep Kumar to turn 12. Is this going to be another improvement? Let's see. Heads up towards the line. And he does go quicker, and he goes up to third. 1:39.765, displacing Anindith Reddy, therefore. Moves himself ahead and puts himself up onto the inside of the second row of the grid. A little bit of tar smoke as he pushes on from turns 2 to 3. And we are approaching less than a lap time left in the session as of now, so anybody starting a lap in the next few seconds is going to be on their last lap of the session. I think I'm right in saying here that Sandeep Kumar will squeeze one more out of it come the end, yes he will. So Anindith Reddy is the frustrating one, having been the fastest earlier on, but now doing his level best to play catch-up. He's down to 4th on the grid, so it's quite a long way back in terms of the staggered start that there will be for these single-seater racing cars. Out of turn 11 over the brow, now down to turn 12, onto the pit straight. Has he done enough on this to be able to claw back any of the lost time? He'll get one more shot because he's onto his last lap of the session now. Goes no quicker. So Anindith Reddy stays 4th. And it rather looks as though that could be where he has to start on the grid. Everybody watching on in the pit lane, finding the live pictures, but also finding the timing data. Narain Kartikeyan, who is here for 2-litre purposes. A conversation with Arun Maman, the managing director of MRF. So the checkered flag is out, session at an end. Kartik Tarani the fastest. And Raghu Rangasamy looks as though he's going to have to settle for second here. So despite looking very, very rapid across free practice, actually qualifying when it counts as well has not really worked out in his favour. Kartik Tarani, having done the best lap of the session, is a 10th up in the end. He did a 39.6, then he did a 39.4, and that's where he stays. 1:39.496 for Kartik Tarani from Raghu Rangasamy and Sandeep Kumar. Anindith Reddy 4th. Can he improve on his last lap? Let's see. twitches his way through turn 12. Flag is at the ready, over the timing line he goes, and the answer is he stays fourth quickest, goes no better. Arjun Maman from MRF, happy to see his tyres being used to good effect. And Narain Karthikeyan, mainstay of Indian motorsport, involved in developing the next incarnation of the MRF Challenge car, taking part along with Toby Sowry in one of those two guest entries this weekend. So Kartik Tarani is the man who will end the session for the 1600s on pole position, with a margin of 0.145 of a second over Ragul Rangazami. Sandeep Kumar third, and ready fourth, Chetan Korada fifth, and then Arya Singh rounding out the top six at the end of the session. At the back of the grid, just a word about Indian actor Jai Sampath Kumar, or Jai as he is as his stage name. Made his racing debut back in 2014. Another actor, Ajit Kumar, inspired him to go racing. Ajit having had a brief spell, you might remember, in the British Formula 3 Championship about, what, 16, 17 years ago. But at the end of the session, Kartik Tarani, the fastest from Ragul Rangazami, and Sandeep Kumar, fourth, Anindith Reddy, and fifth, Chetan Korada. So that's how they will line up at the front of the grid for the first of the two Formula 1600 races. That promises to be action all the way. We've got Formula 1300s, though, on track very shortly for their first race of the weekend, as Kartik Tarani then leads the field down the pit lane. A look at some of the highlights of the session, with Ragul Rangasamy being the man that was quick early on. He did the initial target time, but it wasn't long before the others got on their toes and were able to overhaul him. In number 8, Ishan Dodiwala pressed on to 8th fastest. In 1901, the car of Siddharth Trevalora had a sideways Anindith Reddy in his mirrors. Reddy had been the fastest at one point and then fell down the order, as also pushing on was Arya Singh in car number 10. Through it all, Kartik Tarani put himself up towards the front of the field. Sandeep Kumar, another driver to improve as well. Reddy tried hard, but couldn't quite do anything about getting himself back to where he had been. So he ended up fourth behind Sandeep Kumar, and Kartik Tarani, the man then who will start race one provisionally from pole position. So compared to one or two of the other sessions that we've had, qualifying remarkably calm. I'm not entirely convinced it will stay that way for the race, but let's see. The pit lane now starting to prepare itself for the Formula 1300s, which will be coming to play shortly. And as the 1600 cars head for their garages, 44 Anthony George there. And number 1, Jai Sampath Kumar. We didn't see very much of on track, but he will start at the rear of the grid. Great enthusiast, loves motorsport, loves fast cars, proper petrol head. And Jai Sampath Kumar, 4.4 seconds away from the top time, but suspect that he will find Anthony George to race against, so he won't be too lonely, hopefully, at the back of the field. There'll be a battle that he can be involved in. So he hops out of the car. MRF provide engineers for the 2 litres, a separate team for the 1600cc cars. And Jai Sampath Kumar then will start at the rear of the grid. At the very front of it, though, Kartik Tarani, and he's going to be the driver to beat Ragul Rangazami second on the grid will be the opposition. And it's time we heard from the pole man. Kartik Tarani is with Louise.
I can't believe that Kartik's just asked me what position he's in on the grid, so it's P1.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. The dash wasn't working, so I had no reference of lap times, but I was able to see on the pit board that it showed P1. So yeah, job well done. Yesterday wasn't the perfect day because we had a few small niggling issues here and there, but I put my trust in the mechanics who did a fantastic job overnight, and yeah, I think this one's for them. Hopefully in the race in the afternoon we'll be able to convert that into a win. And yeah, I'm just having fun because I'm just a guest driver this weekend. So big thanks to MRF and J Motorsport for having me. It means a lot. I'm making the best of all my chances I get.
I don't think they're going to make it easy for you though on that race, are they?
No, it's going to be tight. I don't think it's too much gap to the top four. So it's going to be a pretty tight race. It's a pretty hot day as well, but yeah, it should be fine. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you.
No problems.
So pole position for the former Volkswagen racer, but is it going to be a race win? Well, we shall find out. Raghu Rangasamy will be the opposition, and the race for these cars to come up at 14:45 local time. Raghu Rangasamy is going to be the man, as I was saying, who will start second on the grid, and then Sandeep Kumar third on the grid come the end of that session. So one or two drivers perhaps feeling a little bit disappointed, being a bit out of sequence, though Anindith Reddy, one of those who will have quite a bit of work to do, I would have thought. So having been at the top of the times earlier on in the session, Anindith Reddy ending up fourth, but he was another that struggled to be able to make progress as the session continued. Just to the left of shot, the Formula 1300s making their way out onto the circuit, ready for their race. Right, so the 1300s venture out onto the circuit. This could be another very lively race that will be coming up in a few minutes' time. And the Madras circuit, which gets busier and busier and busier. It's operational, I think, now 320 days this last season with all sorts of activities, not just racing, but driver training and corporate days, manufacturer days.